Put it over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Larry took care of it. Oh, Larry tried to broker the other day.
Okay. No,
It's 5:30. I'll call this meeting of the Board of Works to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll go next to roll call. Commissioner Eldridge.
Diver.
Present.
Bradshaw.
All right. Is there anything on the agenda that we need to add to it? Mine's low on there, I think. Yeah. All right. We'll go to reading of minutes of approval. We have minutes from the November 7th regular Board of Works meeting. Are there any additions, subtractions, deletions, amendments?
I move they be approved.
Did he move?
Yeah.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of November 7th, 2016. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Go next to the minutes of the work session on November 17th, 2016. Are there any additions, subtractions, deletions, amendments to be made to those?
I move they be approved as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the minutes of the November 17th work session. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We move next to the approval of claims. Do we have any questions regarding the claims?
Did you get your print or your copier?
Sure did.
How's it work?
Smarter than me.
So are you in training?
Yeah.
There you go. I move the claims be approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Move next. We got two department heads on vacation. So I told Dick to stay home. Chief's on duty right now, so we may pop in later. And Jake Adams is sick, so we'll move next to unfinished business. Talking to Ms. Walker, she's gonna wait until the first meeting in December. The bag truck will receive a demonstration on its ability to hydro drill in December sometime. With that being said, we'll move on to new business. Mr. Turkey, you have for us information about aeration for wells 1 and 3.
I have a proposed supplemental agreement for the well number 3 project. Based upon working under Appendix D1, hourly services. Actually, we would suggest to look at it in terms of options for wells 1, 3, and 5, utilizing opportunity to reduce the head capacity on well 5 and get a little bit of blending involved with sulfides that are in wells 1 and 3 as well. So essentially, I think this comes down to there are 2 locations and 2 options to evaluate at each location. So a total of 4 different opportunities that you should probably look at. Those are really larger volume, larger tank volume, higher capacity pumps at each location, and or potentially smaller tank volume and lower capacity pumps at each location. The advantage and disadvantages would be the larger stuff is something that we would try to take advantage of for long-term growth when the city grows. It's useful, so you're not wasting money, spending good money after bad. The other option would be to look at it, can we do this very cheap and make it something that is going for a while? essentially give you enough information to make an educated decision. And we provide maps of connectivity, how the water mains will work, gives you the options, tank options, what the air stripping device would look like, and evaluate various things, whether or not potentially scrubbers, that sort of things would be needed, both for chlorine, Craig definitely wants to stick gas chlorine in for H2S. Obviously, the thought process behind that is that most likely if we stay up around golf course area, the residents, scrubbers are more likely to be needed. Move out to the well 5 area, there's a much better chance that you eliminate scrubbers with the other problem. Potential contamination. Basically, it's kind of would be running through and figuring out what the best methodology is in each of those locations.
What's the total capacity of those, not 5, but the other 3 wells, if you scrub?
The other 2 wells?
2
Wells 1 and 3.
1 and 3.
Yeah, I think 1 is about 450 gallons a minute, and 3 is going to be rated at 1,000 gallons a minute. Probably you wouldn't run both of them at full speed at the same time.
You think they're long-term sources? I mean, are they solid enough that they'd be around for 20 years?
I don't think it's quite 20 years is what the projection suggested. Remember when we did the quick projection?
Well 1 on there.
Yeah, when Peerless did that quick projection earlier this year, I think it was out into the 2030 area. I would presume that well 1 would likely be the same static water levels are basically the same.
But that's well 1, or well 3, we built deeper than what well 1 is.
Slightly. I think it's about 40 feet deeper, isn't it?
I don't know, where's well 1 sitting right now? I thought well 3 we dug to 398.
Yes. I think it's in excess of 300. I may be mistaken because I know that well 1 was plugged off at some point. It may be that they plugged it somewhere just shy of 300.
How does this fit into your work for the water expansion contract? And because I know tankage will more than likely be required at around the golf course site, at least preliminarily.
Well, I think it fits in terms of some of it could potentially be carried over and or slightly revised, just because you wouldn't necessarily you could rethink it, I guess. Like I mentioned. If ultimately you're thinking about having 2 million gallons of storage at one of those 2 locations, for example, maybe you could break that 2 million gallons down into 3 tanks instead of 2, or something like that, which could be part of the economy of scale, I guess, that we're talking about. So the question really becomes whether you need that much storage and how long you wait to build it. I don't think, when I say you need 2 million gallons of storage, that's to some degree. And so you're going to get different opinions. So maybe what I'm really saying is that you could go with a 500,000 gallon tank now, in 5 or 10 years, build another 500,000 gallon tank. To allow some redundancy. And you could even consider not building that in the future if you can make the maintenance for it long term.
I guess my question is, how does the engineering with this overlap at all with the engineering that's being done for
Well, I
the?
think so, yeah. I think you can take some of the information from that and reuse it.
When you say mixing well 5 with well 3 and well 1, assuming that all 3 of those continue to do what they've been doing, how much does that lower the sulfur content? I mean, cut it in half, or depending, I assume, how much you pump out of each one.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a question that I can't specifically, there's too much math involved in
So
this.
does that allow maybe well 5 to last a lot longer? If-
This could allow us to lower the pump in well 5 without having to increase its size, right? If we're not pumping into the system.
Right. That's what we understand from Pierce. Yes. So,
We're looking at two things. here. We're looking at cross the river as a solution, and we're looking at well 1 and 3 as a solution. Is that correct?
I think we're looking at wells 1 and 3 as a short-term solution.
Yeah, they're a time buyer.
In case, when wells 4 and 5 break suction. We don't know when that's gonna happen, but sooner than later is the anticipation.
right, that's the reason for having interest in addressing the sulfides in 1 and 3.
Really, we don't have to address the sulfides in wells 1 and 3, but well 3 has more sulfides in it than well 1, and well 1 stinks to high heavens, right?
That's true.
There's nothing unhealthy about the sulfides or deteriorous to the health and safety of residents of Delphi.
That's what the water quality experts at EPA and IDEM say. No,
But
there's nothing reported. It's
If
not,
we were giving water with the high sulfide content that we have right now, our phones would be going off the hook because every single person in the city of Delphi would be
yes.
complaining.
The other thing to remember in my mind when we talk about water quality and those types of things, particularly with sulfides, is every individual's person's sensitivity is different. Some people are going to take to it worse just because they're more sensitive. Their olfactory senses are better than others. The other thing that you always have to consider is the population that's affected. The water quality rules try to take that out. Those with weaker immune systems, being very young or the very old, are the ones that are going to be most affected. That's another reason to look into it, another example of this, why everybody has a different threshold of sensitivity.
Where are we at for permitting on well 3?
Permits submitted, it's my understanding that IDEM is in process of putting it up for their public advertisement. There are two elements of it that are kind of being held. One is that they need an NSF certification apparently for the pump, working with Gary Wilson, addressing that issue. The other element is that casing is again below the minimum or higher, if you will, the minimum 50-foot depth in the current standard. So they're going back and reviewing that for safety considerations, potential rail contamination under the influence.
What's that mean?
Anytime a new well is installed in the modern era, you have to evaluate it for being potentially under the influence of surface water. We've talked a few times about the difference in treatment requirements and labor requirements for surface water and groundwater. If you're deemed under the influence, then you're automatically in the surface water category if you're going to use that well. So you have to basically build a surface water plant to treat that groundwater.
This is because the casing isn't within 50 foot of the,
It's not at least 50 foot deep, so they're evaluating. I don't imagine that they'll come back with any issues other than potential monitoring.
so they just monitor the temperature.
Temperature and possibly E. coli.
Why didn't they put it?
Well, it was built in 1978. There probably wasn't a rule on it, it was deep enough to work.
We don't get grandfather or?
Well, I'm working on that, and I think that would be the argument that we would have. My goodness, this has been around since 1978. We've not had any issues whatsoever. We never had a problem with it. But trying not to pick a fight, but we need to look at it on our own and decide it's okay. It'd be easier for us.
Mr. Dyer, do you have any questions for Mr. Turkey?
No, I mean, it seems to me that we've been told that the current wells that we have a certainly a definite life. And it may not be all that long, and so the idea, I thought, that was we wanted to increase the capacity of those wells to help reduce the possible shock of other system disruption. And those wells, the water stinks, and so the only way to really get that water even close to palatable is to aerate it. So that's where we're here today. I don't know that we've got a great deal of choices.
I know you don't like to give approximations as to costs for these, but could you give us a ballpark of low end if we go with a cheap solution? I mean, that will last us maybe until we have the expansion as opposed to long term.
Best case, I would say $150,000. Big project, off the cuff, best guess right now.
Does that include a tank, or is that just
Depending on how big the tank is and what kind of tank we build, that's what I'm trying to.
Would a booster station be required for either option,
Yes.
or for both options?
Yeah. You're gonna have to repump it, because that's what the aerator will, essentially, break pressure. That's the way it works.
is it literally an aerator that just runs the water over filters and so on and so forth, basically?
Yeah, pretty much. It'll probably have to be a big tall aluminum structure. It'll have a bunch of slats or plastic balls of some kind in it, and the water will cascade down through that, and the oxygen will mix, the gas will come out. It'll probably have a motor on it, so we're also forcing air through it to help improve the quality of that aeration.
And we can get that to the same quality as well 5 is right now?
That's part of what we're trying to figure out how to answer. Will it be better? I mean, we can make it a lot better. I'm not sure how much H2S that they can actually get out of it.
I was thinking our original discussions was that it was not gonna be, it was gonna be somewhat offensive, but not nearly as offensive as if you didn't do anything to it. So I mean, that you couldn't make it pristine.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna make it pristine, to be honest.
Is that pretty energy intensive? It suddenly sounds energy
The aeration?
intensive, yeah.
No, actually it's not. The motor's pretty small, usually 5 horsepower or less.
Really?
Yeah, it's just basically just a little fan. You have to look at the details. I haven't looked at it for a long time, but you're probably looking at a box that's like 10 by 10. If we get real tricky, as we put it together, maybe we do 2 boxes that are 7 by 7. The economy's there, so you have some redundancy for when you get out or some sort of balance.
And well 4 is probably gonna go, is it out now?
It actually did.
I mean, it recovered a little bit.
It did better than anticipated this year.
But it seems like we're on the bubble, you know, if something happens, we could be, you know, if we don't have some form of reserve or backup, it seems to me like we're at a risk.
Would well 3 be out of operation during the process, or would it be something that you'd switch over right at the end? So, because we may need well 3, and then if something happens to well 4 or 5.
Well, I don't think that wells out of operation is necessarily a major concern during the process.
Well, 3's already up. It's not operational right now.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a tough question. It depends a little bit on where the tank would be sited and that sort of thing. probably well 5 would be the one that would be most likely to be out of operation and have an issue, because we're talking about lowering the pump setting. So you have to get in and pull the pump, add new column piping to that, do any rework or replacement that you needed to do with regard to all of the different elements of the well structure itself, electrical wire and tubes and all the stuff that they do, and then reset it, rechlorinate it. So I would say you're looking at well 5 being down for at least a week. Structure that and think about it in such a way that that will be the last one that you do. Basically, you put well 1 and well 3 in operation to the new tank, so that you have that water and that you're working with, and then you come back and do the work on well 5 to connect it, so that you may only have rather short-term shutdowns, if you will.
Is that a ground level tank or an elevated tank?
I'm thinking of ground level.
Why do you have to have a tank? What is it about the system?
Well,
Is that
and
for pressure, or-
that ties in with long-term. We'd be looking at taking to that location.
Well, you're gonna have some sort of tankage structure, because in order to go through the aeration device, water will come out of pressure, so it'll be in a pressure pipe coming out of the well, and pump it up and basically just drop it loosely. So you have to catch it again in something. I'm suggesting at this point a typical water storage tank seems to be the cheapest concept. We could easily do a vault, some kind of concrete vault in the ground, but that doesn't make much sense there when we know that rocks are fairly shallow, type of thing. So,
So it's kind of like a battery, it accepts the overflow and
right.
evens out the flow out of the tank?
Right, it gives the water a little bit of time to react, and let the oxygen do its work. I think that's probably, we'll probably talk about that more. We talk about iron filtration, how iron works, but I think that H2S comes out pretty quick comparatively. For example, they have minimum sizes that contain a certain amount of water at a certain pumping capacity. We'll probably, well, I don't know, we have to think about that, but there are some sizing considerations too, in terms of how much water's coming in and how much are you pumping out at any given time to make sure that we're not dry.
What would be a time frame on something like that?
Like
Say we said
everybody,
today, let's do that, put in a 500,000 gallon tank and review well 3 and get it ready to go in well 1. We're looking at 6 months, a year.
well, I think that's the other part of what we're doing, we're trying to help sort that out. Depends on the size of the tank. 500,000
Essentially, you're saying you really need to do these evaluations before we know what the better options are.
Right. Yeah, if I was really serious, if I could answer all those questions specifically,
You'd be the smartest guy in the room, so you know
well, I would have answered.
Then nobody would get paid.
that.
Yeah.
What
No, that concerns me honestly, because of the foundation requirements and things that you're doing for a tank and the time you get a tank here. So I'm thinking about more cost-effective tanks, a steel tank or something like that. What if you have to do a foundation in there? Well, the smaller foundation is going to be cheaper and easier.
Maintenance-wise, how reliable are aeration devices, and how would that affect our risk of having another moving part if we have wells 1, 3, and 5 all tied into it, as opposed to, I mean, if well 5 goes down right now, we can easily switch to well 1. With the aeration, would there be a way to bypass it if we had a problem with the actual box?
We would probably build 2 of them, is for redundancy. They're traditionally rather reliable, but once you're aerating to remove sulfides, you're pretty committed to doing that. So I think that's why I was talking about 2 of them 7x7 instead of 1 10x10. I know of one that I've seen, if I evaluations in 20 years that quit working. And I believe it was just because they were too lazy to replace the motor. And it was like 20 years old, so I think they're pretty reliable devices.
We had an aeration system out there. You remember that?
No.
You remember, Jeff? I remember that it was a wooden structure with the screens and stuff in it, and it had to come from one of those wells. This has been a long time ago.
Well, you're older than I am.
I am. I'm older than everybody except my child.
Ooh.
He's sleeping. I mean, it was probably 5 foot by, set up in the air, maybe 7, 8 feet. And I remember the water running through it. But again, that's gotta be 40 years ago, maybe 50 years ago.
So before
Probably
well 3?
50 years ago.
Before well 3?
I don't know when well 3 went in. Did you say 78?
78.
It was before that. Yeah. That's the only aeration system I've ever remembered was that thing, and I guess I didn't even know what it was at the time, or didn't recognize what it was.
Well, it's the same thing, it would be doing the same, basically the same thing we're doing, like say, you splash it down over the top of a bunch of stuff, and oxygen gets in there. You don't have any iron to work on in this case, but anything that needs oxidized is oxidized.
Do we have any other questions from Mr. Turchin?
What's he asking us to do? Approve this?
Mm-hmm.
Approve the supplemental agreement, we'll have to change the date on there.
And all the questions that we have that didn't get answered will be answered by this
Mm-hmm.
agreement?
I hope I'll have to get the minutes and see if Ian got more written down. Yeah, that's my intent, is basically to be able to answer these questions. How long is it gonna take to get it built? How much is it gonna cost? What size are these different pieces, parts? And which locations can they be at? How long might it take to permit them, so you can consider all the factors.
If we build a big tank out there, is that something that could also be used when the water comes in from the river?
That's one of the options we're looking at.
So we're looking at not to exceed $20,000 total, a lump sum of $9,000 for design and permitting.
Thought it was 25.5.
I'm going off the email.
Yeah, 9,000 for fees
Yeah.
and,
Sorry, your email,
Oh,
when I
sorry.
sent you the email, I gave you a range, I wasn't, I wasn't God bless
Sorry.
yet.
Right.
that's 25.5 total.
What's today's date? November 21st? Can I amend the contract to
Sure.
reflect that date?
What date is that?
September 6th.
Oh, no, that's the wrong spot. That's not the original agreement.
All right. Well, I'll have to use the one that you're going, I'll have to use
That's the
Dick's.
same thing.
I got more.
Here,
My
that's
doodle
the same
count.
thing.
I got more.
That becomes part of the contract.
Is it?
Yeah.
The doodle? Doodle's extra.
There. All right. We have any
No,
other
wasn't it?
discussion on this? So it's a agreement not to exceed $25,500 supplemental to the agreement of September 6, 2016.
I move that we accept the proposal for a cost not to exceed 25.5.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the supplemental agreement number 1 to the contract of September 6, 2016, not to exceed $25,500. Do we have any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Churchy, do you have anything else for us today?
I believe you have me on the agenda to schedule a meeting with you.
Yes, sir. I think, Sam, you're gonna be gone, the dates that we proposed. Mr. Dower, you know your calendar for, expansion, water and sewer expansion update meeting? We have the 29th or 30th.
I've got more, I was just trying to fit some urgency into it. the day on the 1st. Second.
Let's do on the 1st at 9 AM. That's what we already have a work session scheduled for that time,
Okay.
so shouldn't be any different than what you already
Well,
have on
we're
your calendar.
9 AM.
Yes, sir. Does that work for you, Mr. Turkey? All right. Fantastic. Anything else?
Discuss the levy project briefly.
Okay.
Number one, our inspector, Ramon Del Real, I wanted Ramon to come to the meeting tonight and just, you guys get to know who he is, see him, know that he's out there working for us. He's wrangling them pretty hard to do everything.
Wrangling.
Wrangling.
Ooh.
Wrangling.
Wrangling, yeah, right.
You know that nothing about that project is easy, right? So,
It's the eternal project.
yes. So Ramon's been with us for quite a while. He's got a lot of experience in construction inspection. He did a good job. So he likes it around, not only in town. That sort of thing. The only other thing is that I've never seen it before, but it appears that the project's been selected through the federal government to be involved with budget tracking, project tracking for dollars spent on construction projects in communities or something like that.
That doesn't sound good.
I got an input down there. I don't mean to make it sound bad, it seems to be more of a headache.
Anytime you say federal government and tracking.
Yeah, well, the good news is that this letter that we have comes from the Census Bureau, which is kind of strange to me to be doing this, but I think they're just looking for statistics and dollars and things like that.
Well, this is partially funded by Okra.
Yes.
Did part of that have to do with having low to moderate income or not?
It doesn't indicate anything about low to moderate income. I think it just got into the federal books because of Okra and disaster relief funds. So the departments, I guess the Census Bureau's under the Department of Commerce, and it basically sends a credit application to fill out to track total cost, total time, stuff like that. I think we should probably do it.
What other choice do we have?
Well, you can learn, they can call you, I don't know. It's voluntary compliance.
I got one.
Been there, done that.
Yeah,
So you need any action from,
I wanted to let you know that it's being tracked and we're going to be ready for it.
it's not gonna slow anything down though, right?